So I click it.
Oh no.
Uh-huh. Let me tell you. Let me tell you
How
what it
bad is
says.
it?
Um, I mean, you can decide for yourself how bad it is.
Okay.
Remember those awkward high school days of not knowing what to say or do? That awkwardness sometimes transfers to adulthood, too. Here at EA, that is totally okay. In this new High School Sims expansion pack, EA has decided to take a different approach to accessibility. Featured in this new expansion pack is a new attribute, socially awkward. We've sat down with EA
Nah.
intern Anna, I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name, who recently returned to EA as a game designer for Maxis to give you the latest news on this attribute.
They did not.
So they said, we're going to be accessible. We're going to we're going to add some representation for neurodiverse people. And we're going to make an attribute called socially awkward. Because that's what neurodiversity is.
Not to mention, having the socially awkward trait makes people hate you.
This is so funny. This feels like something that someone would do 10 years ago for representation.
It would rather they just called me a slur.
Right? What exactly can players expect from this social anxiety attribute? Oh, they called it social anxiety. That's
Lovely.
gotta be an accident. Social anxiety attribute. That's not the same. That's not what socially awkward is. But okay, yeah, sure. Social anxiety is now neurodiversity. EA said it, so it's true. Players can expect new game challenges and deeper relationships with the Sims they interact with. Sims with this trait will feel anxious in most social situations and will be able to act accordingly. When they choose to interact with other Sims or engage in social environment, they will gain big rewards. Okay, so when they choose to interact with other Sims, they will gain big rewards. That's great. Okay.
Except they haven't, because everyone hates them
Yeah,
for
and also it
talking.
basically says like, well, if you have social anxiety, just talk, then you get rewards.
Yeah, that's the entire solution to all of your problems.
What in-game benefits will player have from choosing a social awkward sim? In the past year, The Sims has introduced sentiments into the Sims world. Sentiments are emotions that your Sims feel towards another Sim. These sentiments are tracked in the game and factor in determining your relationships. When using a socially awkward Sim, all social interactions are more likely to fail. As a result, a Sim gains more positive sentiments and receive more positive buffs when they choose to respond to a unique social event. Additionally, the Sim becomes more confident, and the Sim gains a more unique, deep, and permanent relationship than other Sims that do not have this trait. If you're trying to do neurodiversity, it should be that every Sim who first of all, should not be called social awkwardness.
Yeah, at the very
I'd rather you
least.
just call me a slur. But if they
Uh-huh.
but if you have to do this, if you're gonna do this trait, if you're gonna do it as like a thing, it shouldn't be that all socializing goes bad. It should be socializing with people who don't have the trait is kind of weird, and socializing with people who do have the trait works perfectly fine.
To mention, like, if you are socializing with people who don't have the trait, it could be the thing where, like, as you gain more relationship with them, specific interactions unlock that weren't available before.
Yeah, like kind of like the shy trait in The Sims 3, how like they'll be anxious around people, but if they're around their friends, they're absolutely fine.
Yeah,
Okay, so
like
tell me,
that would be okay, but no, you have to make everyone hate my sim
yeah,
because they're quote unquote awkward.
they coded ableism into the game.
They coded ableism into the game.
Tell me more about what inspired you to create this feature. It's always been a passion of mine to break stigma surrounding mental health. Guess what, bestie? That's not what you did.
Let's
Okay.
see, you fucked up.
It's always been a passion of mine to break stigma surrounding mental health and bring more awareness to neurodiversity. That's not what you're doing. I've played Sims since I was a kid because it gave me a space to explore my identity. It was a safe space. Now that I'm older, I need to see myself and others reflected in other ways as a person who is neurodiverse. I believe that just like in reality, a sim should live authentically. Creating a sim like this just seemed like another step towards making a more inclusive and realistic environment for all players. You just made it.
Yeah, sure.
You just made it a non-safe space.
You made it realistic by not making it safe.
Yeah. Oh my god. What's your favorite part about the process? The creative process was my favorite process. That's okay. I was passionate about focusing on the positive aspects of social anxiety. Social anxiety isn't neurodiversity.
At all.
Did they just have a woman with social anxiety go, I'm neurodiverse, and then they made a fucking thing about it? Oh my god,
I don't even know what to say. That's just bad. This is just bad.
Every move the Sims team have made in like the last 2 weeks has been astronomically bad.
Somehow they managed to keep fucking it up.
This is embarrassing. Oh my god. Oh my god, it gets better. I was passionate about focusing about the positive aspects of social anxiety and really made sure the positive attributes and rewards I was implanting reflected that. One of my favorite aspects is the 2 peas in a pod attribute. Now, to me, that tells me that she gave us codependency. But we'll see. Okay, when 2 socially awkward Sims become friends, they become friends for life. I'm really looking forward to players discovering trait quirks like this. Okay, yeah, so when 2 people who get absolutely ridiculed by every other Sim in the world meet each other, they become friends and stay friends forever. 'Cause no one else likes them. That's not a good thing.
They just coded ableism into the game.
They just coded ableism into the game. Oh my god.
I don't know how they didn't catch that.
What was the process like from beginning to end? What considerations did you make? What type of research did you do?
None. This is like Sia all over again.
Well, there are 2 other traits in this pack as well. Party animal and overachiever, both of which are school related. There isn't really a social trait. How is party animal not a social trait?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too.
Is party animal school related? Okay. As you know, this is a high school expansion pack, so I thought, why not explore it? And oh, the timer is done, by the way. I'm gonna read an ableist article now. We've all been socially awkward at one point in time.
Oh my god.
And given our current pandemic climate, social anxiety and anxiety in general is on the rise among teens. Social anxiety isn't neurodiversity! Oh my god. A report I read said that around 22% of 16 to 17-year-old teens say they experience some form of social anxiety.
That's not.
I agree,
neurodiversity. And if social anxiety is on the rise, then that's just another indicator that it's not neurodiversity, because you don't get neurodiversity. You're born with it.
So cite your sources. Where's the report?
You can have social anxiety as a result of having had to grow up neurodivergent. That is a thing.
But that's not what she's talking about.
For having social anxiety. There are plenty of neurotypical people who have social anxiety disorder.
I wanted that experience to be represented in our Sims as well. I used a lot of my own experience, external experience, as well as working with internal mental health groups within the company to conduct research. Okay, cool. So EA's mental health groups are shit. Great. Creating this sim was difficult because realistically anxiety is triggered by multiple instances that couldn't be replicated in the game. A challenge I had was choosing how to display this anxiety as an emotion. I didn't want this idea to be scary for players to encounter, but to feel approachable. I tried to add situations that would make people anxious, like the cafeteria, hanging out with friends, or unique social situations at work or school where Sims would have to make defining choices.
It sounds like they thought they put a lot of thought into it, and then they just didn't.
Yeah, like, not once have they spoken to any expert in neurodiversity. They've not once mentioned autism or ADHD. This is about social anxiety, not neurodiversity. You added mental illness to the game, and you did it badly.
Mention, they are presenting it as if having social anxiety is something that people should be hated for. Because everyone hates the socially anxious or socially awkward people in the game. It is incredibly difficult for socially awkward Sims to make any kind of friendships or relationships because all of their fucking social interactions end up going badly and they end up getting negative relationships with people.
It's just the loner trait repackaged.
But worse.
What do you hope players will get out of this feature? I really hope players will be able to create and identify more with themselves through their Sims. I think this trait will allow player to play out their traits and anxieties in the safety of this game. How would I play out my anxieties in the safety of this game if all the Sims I interact with are going to hate me for it?
Yeah, like
that's not safe.
That's the exact thing that I worry about all the time. Thank you.
I think this will bode well with the positive reinforcement that happens when a Sim interacts. Have you experienced any positive reinforcement when a Sim interacts?
No.
It will also
None.
allow other non-disabled players to sympathize and understand players with disabilities and hopefully create meaningful conversations and change.
No!
No, because
people who are mean to neurodiverse people be even more mean.
Yeah, and you've made the trait basically useless, so no one's gonna be like it's just gonna be like, oh, it's the socially awkward trait. It's like useless. If you want your Sim to be like a loner, you can do it, I guess. Like if you want your Sim to be a loser, you can put it there. Like, oh my god, this is the first time. The last paragraph of the article is the first time she mentions disabled and disability, and it says it's going to make non-disabled players sympathize and understand players with disabilities, which is great coming from a woman who clearly does not understand or sympathize with disability.
I am astounded that they didn't once think to talk to a disabled person. Like, it's so easy.
Well, apparently this person does have social anxiety. Whether or not social anxiety is a disability is something that is debated, so I won't say anything on that one, but
it can be debilitating, but it's not a disability.
When you talk about neurodiversity, the title of the article is neurodiversity, and you don't mention autism or ADHD. You don't actually add neurodiversity to the game.
At this point, people are just better off choosing the loner trait if that's what they want.
This is gross.
Yeah, it is. It is horribly mishandled.
I understand adding a weirdo trait or a socially awkward trait or something in a high school pack. There are a lot of high schoolers who in trying to find their own identity and trying to sort of express themselves act really weirdly. Some would say cringe. And I understand adding that to a pack that's supposed to be all the awkward aspects of high school and puberty and stuff.
They did it.
But don't call it neurodiversity.
Yeah, just don't.
And the way that this starts, the awkward high school days of not knowing what to say or do, that awkwardness sometimes transfers to adulthood too. It just repeats this idea that neurodiverse people are childish or not mature, which is absolute bull. This update is, oh my god, this is trash. This is absolute trash. I know EA know that this update and this pack has had a lot of issues, and I know they know that we're upset with it. And I'm not saying that this one necessarily is a bigger issue than the other issues with this pack or update, because we're sort of talking about the patch before the update, before the game, and also the new expansion pack. But this is genuinely disgusting. As a neurodiverse person who also has social anxiety, they're not the same. I'm autistic, and I have anxiety. And I've never been formally diagnosed with social anxiety. A lot of therapists have like told me that I have traits of social anxiety, but I've never been formally diagnosed with it. But yeah, they're not the same thing. I don't know. I'm really tired. I've been filming for hours. But this is a horribly ableist take added into the game. The article is not only full of typos, but it's also just filled with misinformation and no sources. I did assume that this Anna was a woman and used she, her pronouns. I'm really sorry if that is incorrect, if those are not the correct pronouns. Let me know. I will reshoot this video. But yeah, this is gross, and I'm genuinely so disappointed. I don't have words. I'm just so disappointed in the Sims team and in EA for this. The title of the article is The Sims 4 Neurodiversity. And it doesn't... This has nothing to do with neurodiversity. I know that the neurodiverse community within the Sims community is huge. I know that there's a lot of autistics whose special interest in this is the Sims, and I know there's a lot of people with ADHD or people who are ADHD. There's no word for ADHD the way that there is autistics, is there? Like autistics, ADHDs. Does anyone know if there's a word for that? Because I really do want that word. English is my start.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Is there a word for ADHD the way there's a word for autistics?
I have seen some people say that they are ADHD.
Yeah, but is there like a word? Is there a word for people who are ADHD?
I don't think there is a specific one. I think people just say they either have ADHD or they are ADHD.
Okay. I am so genuinely upset by this article. It's
so offensive.
There's so many autistic people whose special interest is The Sims, and there's so many people with ADHD who hyperfixate on The Sims. And also just like, there's so many neurodiverse people who love this casually. And we've just all been done so incredibly dirty right now.
It's like, oh yeah, you love this game. Anyway, we hate you. And we think everyone should hate you.
Just when we thought this update in this pack could not get worse. This article was posted on August 4th, by the way.
Wow.
That's several days ago. I haven't seen anyone talk about it. That hurts my feelings.
I'd rather they just call me a slur.
Yeah, but like I haven't seen any simmers talk about it.